What's up, bud? It's Rob. This is Apparel Success. And in this video here, what I want to talk to you about is the hardest part about growing a clothing brand for every single clothing brand owner that's ever existed, which is your ability to get demand for your brand, your ability to get people to truly want to buy your clothing. And this will always be the hardest stretch for you to go through, generating this demand. And it will also be the longest stretch, the most amount of work. And of course, all of this is going to take place right at the beginning of your journey. So I want to talk to you about the ways that you can get demand quickly for your brand. And I really think that this will help. So here it is. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at DesignCrowd. If designs are something that you need help with, then I really recommend that you give them a shot. You post a project on DesignCrowd, amazing designers from all around the world are going to compete for your project. You choose the winner, then you get that design plus revisions. This is the best-selling design on my website, and I got the design made through DesignCrowd. If you're interested, head over to designcrowd.com/apparel to learn about the special offer that I have for you where you can save up to $100 or simply use the discount code APPAREL when you post a project on DesignCrowd. Okay, how do you get demand for your clothing brand? Like Pokemon cards are in demand right now, where people really want to buy it and they're searching for it and they're looking it up all the time. They're looking for new releases. They're a huge fan of your brand. That's probably a completely different paradigm than what you're currently experiencing with your clothing brand, because most clothing brands that start up, they're really trying to get anybody to buy their clothing. And that's a completely different world to be living in than having a clothing brand that's thriving, where basically anytime you launch something, everybody on your email list, everybody that you market to is willing to buy it. So this is the point that you want to get to with your clothing brand. It's kind of this long uphill battle where you're just like pushing a rock up the hill basically, and then finally when you get to the top, everything starts to become a little bit easier for you. Now, before you think that I'm just some random YouTuber sitting here giving you advice on how to get demand for your clothing brand, this is what I do for a living. I run a Canadian-based clothing brand called K-Bud that's doing right around $50,000 in sales in the past 30 days, and it just tends to keep going up as I scale up my clothing brand. And everything that I've been able to do to get demand for my own clothing brand has come through my own experience, through my own research, and that's what I want to share with you here. So hopefully that sort of opens your ears and allows you to soak in this information. But basically, the main way that you go about getting demand for your clothing brand, the absolute first thing that you should focus on is mastering the foundation of your brand. I've talked about this a lot on my channel, and the reason for that is because it's just so insanely important. And, you know, there's not new rules to the game every day, right? When it comes to creating a brand, there's just sort of these universal principles that need to be drilled in again and again. And so I figured it was important to make another video here, maybe expressing it from a different angle that helps it solidify into you even more than it did before. The first part of your clothing brand's foundation is your brand concept. And this should be the very first thing that you focus on and that you try to master before getting into any other area of your clothing brand. And what ends up happening for a lot of brands is they end up launching their brand without mastering this first, and then they just neglect it the rest of their clothing brand's life. So they basically launch their clothing brand with the brand concept that's a little bit loose. They don't really know what they're about, but you know, they decide to come out with it anyways. And then as they're trying to grow their clothing brand, they focus on their product quality, they focus on their website quality, they focus on their social media, and they don't ever go back and address the brand concept and what their brand's all about and master that to the point where their messaging is really good and they're expressing their brand in all of the right ways so that it's meshing with their audience. And that is like the quickest way to fix all of the problems with your brand is to just take a step back, dive into your brand concept and fix all of your brand messaging, fix exactly what your brand's all about, and make all of that really clear so that it's resonating with people on a deep level where they really get your brand. They really, you know, are stoked about your brand concept because the way that you're expressing it is coming across in a way where they're like, this is for me, this is exactly what I want to wear. This suits my personality. This is meshing with my identity. And when you go back and you address that, for a lot of clothing brands, that's the main cause. And that's the main reason why they're not getting a lot of demand for their brand. So the brand concept is like probably the most important part of your entire foundation. As I've grown my own clothing brand from my own experience, I did exactly the thing that I was just talking about, where I came out with my brand concept. It was kind of like I kind of knew what it was about, but I hadn't mastered it yet. And then I was just focused on marketing it. I just wanted to sell. I just wanted to sell. And it was like social media, building the website, improving my products and all that. And I just never took a step back to just polish and refine my brand concept. Lately, in the past couple of years, that's exactly what I was focusing on. And holy crap, did that change things for my own clothing brand. That's the reason why things are truly flowing right now for my brand, is that it was basically like uncorking the bottle, and now everything's just flowing and it's going way easier because everything makes sense with my audience, and there's that nice connection that's happening there. And that's exactly, what I think a lot of people who are either just first starting up, if you haven't launched yet, focus on your brand concept, get that really clear. And then also, if you're already running and you don't have any demand and you've been running for a while, take an honest look at your brand concept. I'm telling you, master your brand concept, get it to the point where it's really resonating with an audience emotionally, and I think that will really help. So what else is going to contribute to your ability to get demand for your brand? Well, the other 3 components of your foundation after your brand concept are your website quality. How's your website look? Is it polished? Is there any mistakes or errors on it? And is it a nice shopping experience? Your product quality. Do your products look good? Are your designs sick? Does everything sort of just look great the way that it's presented on your website and online? And your social media presentation. If all those 3 areas are also taken care of and your brand concept's really good, then you've got a really solid foundation to build off of to get some demand for your clothing brand. But, like I've said in a ton of other videos, that's not all that there is, right? There's also the social proof aspect. So getting people to see that you already have customers, that you already have an audience, and that you're already thriving is going to massively impact the perception of people who are stumbling across your clothing brand. Because when people stumble across your clothing brand, and they can see that you're already thriving and that it doesn't matter to the clothing brand if they buy or not, it's going to take the pressure off of them, and they're going to want to jump on the trend. They're going to want to join that tribe of people that they also seem to resonate with, right? And they want to join that whole community. So that is, another huge aspect of it. Then I'd say that the cherry on top is getting credibility for your brand. And credibility can come in a whole bunch of different forms. You can get credibility by getting into a newspaper article, by having, a big blogger write a post about you, by getting a big famous YouTuber to, talk about your clothing and how much they love it, to get celebrities and influencers to take a picture of themselves wearing your clothing. All of that will give you credibility and really allow your clothing brand to be full, where you have the foundation of your clothing brand mastered, right? Not only do you have the foundation of your brand mastered, but then you've also got social proof. People are wearing your brand. People who are really cool are wearing your brand. People who other people look up to are wearing your brand. And that's where everything starts to get pretty crazy, because really growing a clothing brand is a spread of a particular message, a particular identity, and a particular trend all happening. And if you can be at the top of that trend, then it's going to spread throughout people. The more people wear it, the more social proof that is, and the more value that it's going to inject into your clothing brand. Now, I talked at the beginning of this video about how growing a clothing brand is a lot like rolling a boulder up a mountain at first. And the reason why it's like that is because acquiring all of this stuff that I just talked about, mastering the foundation of your brand, getting social proof, getting celebrities and influencers to wear your clothing, gaining any level of credibility, is hard work. It takes hard work, and that's the period where you're going to be rolling that boulder up the mountain. But as you begin to master each of these little different components of your brand, you're going to start getting to a point where, wow, my brand is actually something here. And when your brand becomes something, then people are going to start buying it, and things are going to become a whole lot easier for you, and the ball is going to start to roll down the mountain, okay? So that's basically what the journey looks like. And don't worry about the time horizon of all this, because it takes a different amount of time based on how much effort you're putting into your brand, how much time you have to work on your brand. I'm 5 years in to growing my own clothing brand, and things are really flowing for me right now, but it took several years to really master that. And building a brand just naturally takes time. It naturally isn't something that happens really quickly. And actually, sort of written into the definition of a brand is a history. You kind of have to have a bit of a history with your brand in order to tell a story. So, going through that process of building it becomes your story. And that becomes the authentic story of your brand. So, I really hope that this video gave you a really good idea of exactly what it looks like to generate some demand for your clothing brand and to get the ball rolling. And, if you don't have it yet, the good news is that you can always continue to work on these areas and you can make adjustments to get it to the point where you do have demand. So I really hope that that helps. If you got a lot of value out of this video, please hit the like button for me. It really helps me get these videos out there. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you haven't checked out my clothing brand marketing masterclass, it's completely free to watch. All you have to do to get access is go to apparelsuccess.com/masterclass and you can watch the whole thing for free. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to tell you about the closed Facebook group that we have with Apparel Success. There's a link in the description. Follow that link, join us in the group, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.